Hello. Welcome back to Life After Plus One. I'm Leanne, your podcast host and your single parent mentor and coach. And today I'm going to talk on a little bit of a touchy subject. And when I say touchy, well, it's the one thing that you need to sort out when you first break up, and that's the custody. Now, I'm not here to tell you what to do. That's not what this episode is about. It's more so giving you the support and advice you need when going through that, because realistically, no one is there to do that for you. No one is out there giving you that right support. You can ask social media. Yes, you might get some tips. You might get some great advice, but it might be people giving the tips and advice based on their scenario. They might be giving advice based on what they went through and having anger and emotions towards their ex. And that's not what you want. You might speak to your friends who are married and have no idea what it's like to go through this process and just say, oh, you should do this or you should do that. You don't want advice or tips from somebody who's going to give you biased opinions based on their past, or going to give you tips and opinions when they've got no idea what it's like to actually go through this. So today I'm going to give you some support and some guidance when going through this. And maybe you already have gone through this. Maybe you're months or years down the track, but you're still having issues with it. You still can't come to terms with it. Well, then this episode is for you. So go get yourself cozy and let's talk about the hard shit that comes when planning custody of your kids. Welcome to the Life After Plus One podcast, where we turn life's lemons into delightful lemonade. Get ready for inspiring stories, uplifting conversations, and all the tips and tricks to rock your single parent journey with style. I'm your host, Leanne, and it's time to embrace the adventure of Life After Plus One. So let's dive in. Okay, so when you're going through this process, now let's be honest, going back to the beginning, going back to where it all starts, you are never going to be fully prepared for that moment. Even if you did in your head think that you want to leave your ex and you planned it mentally for some time, even though realistically, I'd say the majority of people that are in this situation as a single parent didn't plan it. It's just something that's happened. They got blindsided. It was a spur of the moment, the decision. Maybe they were in a relationship and they did everything to try and make it work, and they just did something one day. Their ex did something which really pushed them to the limit, and that's when you said, right, I'm out. Either way, it's more often than not a process where you plan it and you plan your custody arrangements ahead of time and you plan settlement ahead of time and you plan your finances and everything else ahead of time. Very rarely, if ever, does that happen. So when you're going through all this and you've just dealt with, or you're still dealing with this breakup and you're not in the best headspace, you are not thinking straight, you're heartbroken, you're pissed off, you're angry, and then on top of that, you've got to hand over your kids to your ex. It is adding a whole fucking bag of salt to the wound. I can tell you that. That is not easy, especially when the ex did something to you. Deep down, you're thinking, well, fuck no, you're not getting the kids. You just hurt me. Why should I give you the kids? That's what most people think. And I get it. I understand. But it's hard when you're in that moment to think about handing over the kids or to think about organizing the kids based on what is best for them, because your emotions are running high. You are going through every kind of emotion you can think of right now. And the last thing you are thinking about doing is cooperating with your ex, especially when they just hurt you or they just cheated on you or they just blindsided you. I mean, hey, maybe it was you. There's no judgment here. But if that was the case and they did hurt you, you don't want to cooperate with them. That's the last person you want to kind of do any favors for. That's the last person you want to turn around and say, yeah, sure, here, you can have the kids for a whole week. That is the last thing you want to do. So how do you get through this custody? How do you plan it? How do you organize it when you're dealing with the person that you hate the most. It is not easy, and nobody prepares you for that. And that's why so many people go into it fighting for 100%. Right, I'm going to fight for 100%. When I hear this, I just cringe, because I think to myself in the moment, that's nice and it's all good and well, because you don't want to give up your kids. Nobody wants to hand their kids over to their ex. But here's something that I'm going to tell you, for those of you that are right in the thick of it at the moment. It does get easier. I promise you that. And fighting for 100% custody when you have an ex that's wanting to be involved is not something you want to do. Now, I understand you don't want to let go of your kids. You don't want to hand them over to your ex. But please understand, you cannot parent on your own 100% of the time, 7 days a week for the rest of their lives. I mean, yes, granted, there are some people that are forced into that situation because the other parent does not want to be involved, which is a fucky situation to be in. And I have full respect for those parents that are in that situation and are having to do it on their own because the other person is not willing to help or support in any way. So I have full respect for you people that are out there doing that. But those of you that do have an ex that is wanting to be involved, that is wanting to be there for the kids, that is wanting to see them, this is hard for you to understand. And there's a good chance that if you are now in a process of going through your breakup and you are now currently in the process of working out custody, you are probably not going to want to take this advice on board. And please remember, I'm not telling you what to do, but it's just something to be mindful of. And that is, if you have an ex that is wanting to be involved in your kids' lives, then don't push that away. As angry as you are with your ex, that is your emotions that you need to handle yourself. Your ex is in your life for your kids, and I say that over and over again. They're not staying in your life to haunt you or to piss you off. And the more you fight with them, the harder the process is going to be. Now, I do understand when you're going through this, wanting to cooperate with them is the last thing you want to do. You are pissed off, you are angry, you do not want to sit down and say, yeah, sure, you can have this. Yeah, sure, you can have the kids whenever you want. Nobody's going to want to do that. And I understand, but I'm not telling you to sit down and cave and give them everything they want as well. That is not what I'm saying. What I am saying though, is when you are sitting down and going through the process of planning custody arrangements, it is important to think about what is best for the kids, and is extremely difficult in that moment to take your emotions out of it and plan it as what's going to work for you, what's going to work for your ex, and most importantly, what's going to work for your kids and make them happy and feel comfortable. Now, I totally understand everybody's situation is different. You may have an ex that's an arsehole. You may have an ex that's gaslighting you all the time and tries to control you and tries to manipulate you, or does no-shows and doesn't step up. I understand that. I'm not condoning that by any means, because I firsthand have been through that myself and I know what it's like. It's not a fun journey. But at the moment, I'm talking about when it comes to the custody. And again, I'm not going to sit here and give any legal advice. I am purely giving you some advice and support of how to process it and how to think about it when you're actually coming to the time to make that decision. And if you have made that decision and you're still holding a grudge and you're still angry about it, then this is for you. I need you to remember that this whole process isn't about seeking revenge on your ex. Getting custody is not about proving a point to your ex. It is making sure the kids are happy and the kids are comfortable. Now, quite often I hear comments like, oh, my ex only wants to be involved so they don't have to pay as much child support, or they're just doing this or they're just doing that. At the end of the day, you're not here to fight for child support. I mean, I take that back. If you are the primary carer and you are meant to be getting child support, then yes, 100%. You should be getting child support. But what I am getting at is if a parent is wanting to be involved, don't push them away thinking that, they only want to be involved so they don't have to pay child support. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. I don't know. Everyone is different. You do get some really nasty people when you're going through a breakup and you see a whole different side of them because it just becomes about seeking revenge. And sadly, it's the kids that are caught in the middle of this and they didn't choose to be in this situation. They didn't ask for this. So it's not fair on them to drag them through that. So when you're going through planning your custody arrangements and how much time they should have with each parent, I need you to make sure that when you're doing this, you are in a clear headspace. You do not want to sit down, maybe you're at a mediation session and you're not thinking straight, you're angry, you're pissed off. Maybe your ex said something to you before you went in, or maybe something happened and you've just gone in there and you're just seeing red. You are not going to get a positive outcome when you're in that headspace. When you're making these big, huge decisions that are going to affect your life and your kids' lives, you want to do this when you're thinking straight, not thinking about revenge and pissing the other parent off. So when you're going through this, don't rush the process because you just want to prove a point to your ex. Right, I'm going for 100%. Right, I'm going for supervised visits. Right, I'm doing this. Right, I'm doing that. You are just thinking in anger and revenge. When you're wanting to do this, best thing you can do is just take a step back and calm yourself down. And I understand that is not the easiest thing to do when you're going through a breakup. That is not. You are heartbroken. Your whole world has just been shattered and you now have to start your life again from scratch and go through the process of handing your kids over to your ex, which is quite possibly the person who you hate the most right now and maybe will do for the rest of your life. It's not a fun journey. It's not. But when you're angry, when you're pissed off, when you're just wanting to make it all about revenge, it just makes it harder for you. It really does. Now, when I'm saying to cooperate and when I'm saying to be in a better headspace, it's not about giving in to your ex. Never ever have I said to do that. Never ever am I saying to let your ex control you and decide how it should work. Not at all. You need to have your boundaries and you need to put your foot down. But when you're doing that, you need to make sure you're coming from the right place and you're coming from a place as what's good for your kids, not what's good for you, because in that moment you're pissed off and you're pissed off at your ex and you just want to prove a point to them. And it's quite common to see and to hear comments such as, they only want to be involved for this reason. They only want to be involved for that reason. At the end of the day, if the other parent wants to be involved in the kids' lives, why is that a bad thing? That is something you should be encouraging. If they've done no harm to the kids, they haven't been put in any danger, the kids are safe, the kids are fine, then why are you wanting to deprive them of a relationship with the other parent? They may have cheated on you. They may have done something to you that has really pissed you off. And in your head, you're thinking, I don't want you around my kids. You're disgusting. I hate you. You're a horrible person. But really, if the kids don't know about that and they've done nothing to harm the kids, then this anger and these emotions you have are your anger, your emotions, your breakup anger. That's got nothing to do with them and how they parent. If prior to that incident, they were a perfect parent, or maybe not necessarily perfect, but they were a hands-on parent. They were there, they were present, they were involved. And then all of a sudden they did one stupid mistake which destroyed the relationship. It doesn't mean that they're going to be a shitty parent because they did something shitty with you. Now, again, I'm not telling you what decisions to make and I'm not giving any legal advice. But the point in today's episode is just to give you a bit of a wake-up call, so to speak, about when you're going through this process, and when you're wanting to fight for the kids. Because I understand at the start and you're having to hand them over to your ex, it is a hard pill to swallow. And I can tell you now, and I think I might do an episode on this topic, that first sleepover that my daughter had, I was in tears. I cried myself to sleep. It is not easy because she was so young. My daughter was about 1 year old at the time. She was young. And I didn't cope well. Mind you, she's nearly 12. So it's been a long time. And I've adjusted pretty well. And she's had plenty of time without me. So the longer it goes, the easier it gets, without a doubt. But at the start, it is hard. It is very hard. If your kids are safe, you know that they're not in danger, then that's all you need to worry about. And the time that your kids go to the other parents, this is your time for you. No matter if it's mum or dad or whoever is the primary carer here, or even when it is the non-primary carer that has time away from the kids. Quite often they find it hard. Quite often they struggle as well because they're with them a lot less than what the primary carer is. Some people go into it 50-50, which is great, but that's not all the time. As much as you may not want to see how it feels for the other parent, you're just thinking about your situation and that it's hard for you and you don't want to let them go. And I understand that. But it's also hard for the other parent. And when you're in that situation, they're the last person you want to think of. You, in your head, you're thinking, well, too bad. They created this situation. They made this mess. They can deal with it. This is their problem. If they didn't do this, then we wouldn't be in this situation. I get that mentality. And I know what it's like. But I'm not telling you to give in to them because of that. Because they're the other parent, you should just feel sorry for them. No, not at all. But they will be feeling the same feelings that you're feeling. They will be feeling the sadness of not having the kids around every single day like they used to. They will also be struggling, and you may not be seeing that. And that's fine. You don't have to. It's not your job to sympathize or empathize with them and feel bad for them, especially if they put you in this situation. You don't have to pity them. But you do need to understand that they are going through the same thing as you. And both of you fighting each other for it and fighting each other for things and just trying to find the worst in each other in that situation is not going to make it easier for either of you. If you're just going to sit there and find fault in the other person just to get one up on them or just to kind of maybe get a little bit more time or get a little bit more child support, and then they're going to come back and do it to you, it's not going to achieve anything. So again, as I was saying, I'm not here to tell you what to do. But when you are going through this process and you are thinking about what to do and how to make it work, really at the end of the day, if you're going through a court, then they will have a big say in it. But it doesn't always have to go through the courts. I've never had a court order with my custody with my daughter. We've made it work. Mind you, it hasn't always gone to plan, but it still has always worked and it's been flexible. There's been days in school holidays where he's wanted to see her or when he's wanted to have her overnight. That's fine. We can make it work. I'm happy for that because it's not about me. It's not about child support. It's about knowing my daughter has a father in her life. And as much as I may not like him and I may not like the way he behaves, and sadly, it's a side of him that I didn't see when I first met him because he's a very narcissistic kind of person, very good at gaslighting and manipulating. But I'm not here to talk bad about him, but I'm just saying that even though I don't like him as a person, I will acknowledge him, I will talk to him, and I'll be as respectful as I possibly can based under the circumstances because it's my daughter's father. My anger towards him is not about why he's in my life. He's not here just to piss me off, even though he does try to do that quite often. But I don't let it get to me. But he is in my life for my daughter. And if he wants to have a relationship with her and she's wanting to go, then yes, 100%, I will encourage that. And it doesn't matter what I think of him. And this is the point in the episode. What you think of your ex as a person or as a partner doesn't mean that that's who they are as a parent. And it's hard to see that at the time when you're going through this and you're working out your custody arrangement. You are just pissed off, and in your head you're thinking, no, you don't deserve anything. But depriving your kids of having another parent is not the right thing to do. They deserve to have both parents around, even if they were an arsehole to you, even if they did do wrong by your relationship. If they didn't do wrong to your kids and they didn't put your kids in any harm, then don't deprive your kids of having that relationship with them. So just please remember, when you are thinking about this, I do understand where you're at, and I do understand it is a hard time. It is hard. And handing over your kids, especially at the start, those first few months, it's hard. It really is. And you're feeling like you feel lost. You feel lost. But eventually you will get to a place where the more the kids go to the other parents, the more you enjoy to learn. I said that wrong. The more you learn to enjoy your time alone. So when the kids are going, you're not just sitting there being sad. You're not just sitting there cleaning up their rooms and feeling lonely because they're not around, or crying yourself to sleep because they're not there and you've got nobody to kiss goodnight. You're actually using that time wisely to look after you, to give yourself a reset, especially if you are the primary carer and you don't get much of a break. Yes, it's sad not having your kids, but do you know what? They come back. They will come back in a day or 2 days or however long your arrangement is. They'll be back, and then you're happy again. And then you make plans again and you do your fun things together again. But your life is not over because they've gone to the other parent's house. So please trust me when I say this. It does get easier. It does get easier. And you realize over time, when you get to a point where you're just so worn out and you're so drained and you're just like, holy fuck, I just need a break. I need a break. And then you're wanting your ex to be involved more because you just need that support. You need the help. So please just remember that the kid's visitation with the other parent is not based on what you think of the other parent. It's based on them as a parent. It's based on the kids having that other parent in their life. Now, again, I do understand you have some parents that just don't step up to the plate. You have some parents that are acting like the kid and expect the kids to behave like the parent and tell them what to do. I know what that's like, and I understand. I'm not going to sit here and tell you, to get revenge or to be nasty or to do this. The point in what I'm saying here is to help you do things in the right way, to be the better person and you be the better parent. Now, they might not be cooperating. They may not be wanting to make your life easy. They may be doing everything to piss you off. They may be refusing to cooperate. They may be just sitting down waiting for you to call and text them and you organize everything with them. And those are the people that just don't put any effort in. And you just think to yourself, why? Why are you even a parent? Are you going to do something? Are you going to show these kids that you actually care for them? So those kinds of situations are a little bit different. But sadly, you don't know that till later down the track, that they're going to be like that with the child, because you just keep thinking to yourself, they're your kids. How can you let them down? How can you do this to them? You should step up. And it's hard. You get pissed off. You get angry. You get annoyed because they're not being the parent that you want them to be. But the sad thing is, they're never going to change. And you need to accept that, and you need to understand that. That's who they are. And eventually, if that's who they are, your kids will see it. And when your kids will see it, that's when they get to an age where they start to go, you know what, I don't want to go to mum's house, or I don't want to go to dad's anymore. I don't like it. he's just not there for me. He's not being involved. He's just showing no interest in my life. I don't want to go. The kids will eventually see that. But whilst they're young and you're making these decisions on their behalf, you need to make sure that you're making it with their best interests at heart. It's about what's best for them, not about what's best for your breakup emotions. So this was just a little reminder of how to approach the situation when you're going through this, and how to try and step back and look at it from another perspective, because I understand it's hard to do that. You're trying to make these big, huge, massive decisions whilst you're going through this hardest thing in your life. It is hard. But when you're going through this, you need to try and take a step back. Don't rush anything. Don't jump into any huge decisions that you're later going to regret. Don't feel pressured into signing anything or agreeing to something when you're not in the right headspace. Take your time. You do not have to make these decisions overnight. So allow yourself time to process a bit. Step back, clear your head. Take some time to maybe just totally disengage from your ex. Step away from the contact so you can clear your head and make these decisions in a better headspace. Because if you're going through this and you're in contact with your ex every day and you're fighting with each other and there's a back and forth texting with each other, arguing and proving a point and getting pissed off at each other, you're not going to reach an agreement. You are not going to cooperate. Nothing productive is going to come of that. So when going through this, take a step back, and if need be, tell your ex. Just say, listen, I need a few days just to clock off from this so I can clear my head. They may not be on board with that. They may not want to hear that. They may not want to cooperate. If need be, block them for a few days just to clear your head. I've done that on multiple occasions in between visits. If I know my ex is going to give me a hard time or message me about something that's just totally inappropriate, I've blocked for a few days just so it doesn't mess with my head. I can keep my sanity. I don't so much do it now. Well, every now and then I do, but it was more so back then when I was going through my breakup. I did it quite often. And it's not saying block them for good and cut off all contact and don't let them acknowledge the kids. But they don't have to speak to you every single day. You can block them for a couple of days here and there. That's in between visits. That's not going to impact anything, but it's going to allow you time just to step back and just block it off for a few days. Think about you. Think about your mental health and your emotional state. You need to be in a better headspace to parent. You need to be in a better headspace to look after your kids. And you can't do that. You can't be there for them. You can't be present for them when you're just so caught up in this breakup and you're caught up fighting with your ex and you're just caught up on wanting to seek revenge. You need to be present for your kids. Take some time back, clear your head, and think about what's best in the long run. And if you are struggling with that, you are finding it hard to make these decisions, you are finding it hard just to clear your head and think straight, then let's have a chat. I do have a little question and answer session, which is also like a problem solving session. So if you're not wanting to have a full one-on-one session or like a full coaching session, then these are like little problem solving sessions that if you're going through something hard as a single parent, let's talk about what you're going through. If it is something to do with your co-parenting, if it is something to do with custody, if it is something to do with just getting over your ex, if you're just got a specific issue that you want nutted out, let's have a little chat and see how we can work out ways that you can get through this and you can manage it without the drama, without all this toxicity, and you can move on in a much peaceful and happier way. Because that's what we want. We want you to get through this in a way where you're not just continuing through your life hating on your ex. Even though you may not like them, you don't have to continue thinking about them or thinking that how much you hate them and how much they've pissed you off. You learn to let it go. You learn to step back and go, that's them. That's who they are. That's fine. That's my kid's father or that's my kid's mother. I'll accept them for that. They're a good parent and that's all that matters. They're present for my kids. That's what it needs to be about. Not what you think of them, what kind of person they are with your kids. That's what matters. So that's about it for me today, guys. It was just a quick little chat to make sure that you are in the right headspace. Make sure you're coming from the right place when you're thinking about this. Don't come from a place of anger. Don't come just from a place of wanting revenge. This is your kids. You do not use your kids as a way to seek revenge on your ex. And sadly, a lot of people do it. And I'm not saying it's just a specific gender. A lot of people do it. And it's not right. It's not right, guys. We need to make sure we're putting our kids as priority and not using them as a way to get back at our ex. So I do hope you got something productive from this episode. And if you are, like I said, wanting that bit of extra push, that bit of extra support, we can just nut out a specific topic that you're struggling with, and we can work out some better ways for you to handle that so it's better for you and it's better for your kid. So that's about it for me, guys. I hope that you did get something productive from this and that you can use some of these tips. Now, maybe you are further down the track and this isn't relevant to you. But if you have a friend that's about to go through a breakup, then this is useful for them. And you may already be years down the track, but you are still struggling with it. You're not happy with the concept of or the arrangement that they have certain days and you think that you want them more or vice versa. Just make sure you're coming from a place of what's best for the kids. It's not about just seeking revenge on your ex. And if that's where they're at, then don't engage. If they're at a place where they're trying to get revenge at you, if you just fight back with them at getting revenge on them, it's not going to achieve anything productive. If they're the nasty kind of person that's trying to hurt you and trying to get revenge on you, don't engage. Don't engage, because it's just going to make it harder for you. You be the better person. And that's why you're listening to this podcast, because you are wanting to be the better person. You be the better parent and you lead by example by your kids, because they see this. They see how the parents behave. They see who's been the role model. They see who's stepping up. And that's what's important here. All right. So that's about it for me, guys. Thank you again. And thank you all for coming back week after week. And if you are loving the show, like I always say, give me a review. I want to hear your feedback. Have any questions, send them through. And if there is something that you want to hear me talk about on the show, where are you at in your single parent journey? What questions do you want discussed? What do you want me to talk about? Let's hear about it. Send me a DM on my Instagram page. Come over and follow me if you're not already at Life After +1. Let's have a chat. Let's hear where you're at. And that's about it, guys. And thank you again. And until next week, I'll be in your ears then. Thank you for joining us on the Life After +1 podcast. If you loved what you heard today and looking for some further support, then jump onto our website, lifeafterplus1.com. Plus, don't forget to check out our Instagram page for further resources and inspo. You can find all the links in the show notes. And remember, you're not alone on this path. I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next episode. And in the meantime, keep thriving, keep growing, and keep exploring your amazing life after +1.